Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Ghoulies. They'll get you in the end.
Directed by Luca Bercovici, starring Lisa Pelikan, Peter Liapis, and an unexpected young Mariska Hargitay from Law & Order SVU. Ghoulies is about a young couple, Rebecca and Jonathan, who inherit a house. Jonathan's father lived here before, and he practiced black magic. Now Jonathan is possessed and starts practicing black magic as well, and summons ghoulies who murder all his friends. So what do we like?
I enjoyed that this film was backed by Charles Band, and he did a great job providing us with puppets. Puppets who were the ghoulies. We had a wide variety of ghoulies that looked hilarious and pretty stupid.
This is basically a poor man's Gremlins. The puppets look ridiculous and they're so bad, but I think you're gonna like them.
That's the charm, I feel.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of charm, especially when they interact with people. The people are evidently holding onto them and moving around and shaking. It just looks absurd, but you gotta love the bald one and the cat, I guess.
The cat is the best one just because of how goofy his eyes look and his mouth is just always open with that little piece of drool.
We also had some pretty interesting characters. We had the ambiguously gay duo that was like the stoner guys. And we had probably one of the funnier characters that we've ever seen, Dick.
Hey, Rebecca, can you lead me to the nearest beer?
Who is just a smooth-talking chick magnet who's just a man whore.
Like when we're first introduced to him, you like him right away just because of how cheesy his dialogue is.
They call me Dick, but you can call me Dick.
I felt the Ghoulies had a really good location. The mansion that they lived in was creepy in the sense that it had the statues, it had like the cobwebs, it had that like ancient ritual feel to it.
Now what didn't we like? Shit just happens and you just have to accept that. You won't get explanations. They aren't necessary. For example, there's a clown that before all this possession even happens, the clown is walking around. Doesn't make any sense.
We know it's not real, but there's like a fine line between made up and like utter BS. This is a film that is just like, they don't need to care about this. They're here for the puppets.
Yeah, exactly. But in saying so, there's not a lot of puppets in this. Like,
they're there, but it's like a shot. Like there's no interaction or anything.
And they're not really doing anything. They're just kind of lurking around. Like sometimes you'll see them in the background just like petting a guy. Like it doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they're even in the movie. They didn't play an integral part to the film.
I know, because they introduced us two new characters who are like the underlings and the servants of the master, and they're more useful than the Ghoulies.
Well, the puppeteering was pretty well done for the Ghoulies. The visual effects just sucked. Our main guy, Jonathan, gets possessed, and when he's possessed, his eyes turn green. And you looking at him, and he looks like a fucking pug with his eyes going each and every way. It looks ridiculous. I have no idea what happened. It looked terrible. He's looking in all directions. So stupid.
Though the score was really tacky, the sound effects were very generic in the sense that at one point I went to Jay, I was like, that sounds like the bat from Monster Squad.
And when they did use sound effects, they weren't really loud enough and they didn't make a big impact. For example, we get like probably one of the worst jump scares ever.
The Grimoire of Abra Malini.
And it really shows you why they're throwing in these big impact sounds when a cat jumps out of a fucking cupboard these days.
Though we did have entertaining characters, we had a lot of useless characters in this film. One in particular was Wolfgang, because you see him at the beginning and you see him at the end.
Yeah, it's an ex machina situation. You need a wizard to fight a wizard, and he ends up being a wizard. That's kind of a spoiler, but you'll never see it coming, and it's not a big twist. It doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because he just kind of gets in a grapple fight with some dude, then the movie ends.
Something I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed with in this film is the lack of deaths. Right off the bat, we get what is potentially a cool chest burst kill, and they tease it, and then it cuts away to like an establishing shot.
And when the Ghoulies come out to play, they essentially just leap onto people's faces and then that person falls down. And that's all you see. I think you can see a couple scrapes on their faces later on. Like I said, the Ghoulies are really useless in this movie. They're essentially just there to knock people out and drag them down to the basement. You know what's way easier? And it's proven that it can happen? Having a dinner party, getting them all to drink wine, and then warping them into the basement. Guess what, John? Don't fucking warp them back up to the dinner table. Just keep them in the basement. That's where you wanted them the whole goddamn time.
No need for ghoulies, no need for minion servants.
No, this guy has the power. He can do whatever he wants. He has telekinetic powers. He can do anything. And yet he decides to just have these cheap puppets follow him around. Now let's move on to our final thoughts and ratings. It's been a long time since I've watched Ghoulies, and you know, I probably won't watch it ever again. It's not a very enjoyable film. It's fairly slow paced, but I can see the charm back when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, I did like the movie. Now I don't think anybody's gonna like the movie. I don't think kids are gonna like it. I think it's a little too risque for kids, to be honest. I don't know why I was watching it. The Ghoulies aren't really in the movie, so I don't think a lot of people are gonna like it, especially if they liked Gremlins. And if this is trying to compete in that space, then you need to have more Ghoulies. And thankfully, there are 3 other sequels to this film that we'll hopefully review in the future that have a ton more puppets and a lot more shitty Ghoulies. So I'm gonna give this 1.5 Babes with the Power out of 5.
I remember it exactly how it was 20 years ago. The film wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. It was slower, there wasn't as many puppets, and the deaths weren't as cool. It's just not what you think it's gonna be judging by the cover, which is disappointing. Though it still has a soft spot in my heart because of the nostalgic value, and I do like the look of the Ghoulies and the cheesiness behind it. But today, it's just not there. I really think Ghoulies 3 is the hidden gem in this series. I look forward to revisiting that and hoping it still is the hidden gem of this series. But for this film, it's just not what you think it's gonna be, and it's sad. There needs to be more deaths, more puppets, and a more interesting story. So with that being said, I'm gonna give this 1.5 windshield wiper glasses out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on Ghoulies if you've seen it, and if you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description. But you may as well just like skip on to 2 or 3. I don't even know if that's a great recommendation, so I'm warning you, I haven't seen these films in years.
You gotta choose between, do you wanna go to the circus or do you wanna go to college? That's what's in store for your future.
Kids are gonna wanna go to the circus.
And adults will go to college.
Some of us. And if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.